Hey, what's up? Let's say that hypothetically you're outside. Unheard of, I know. But let's say that you're a bit late and in a rush. So you decide to wear blue. Now let's say hypothetically that was a bad choice and now you're seeing red. Because of where you're situated, the time you arrived in your surroundings, you're now in a bad situation.
I don't like these. I may restrict you from talking. I may take it away. I may take away. I mean, in every room, not just this fucking game.
Eddie, you're.
No, I didn't say you could talk.
This is, in a nutshell, how Sect functions. Sect is something that I referenced in my last video, but unfortunately did not explain. So we're gonna rectify that before moving onward. In traditional astrology, we have something called mitigating factors, and this allows us to be objective about when a placement is bad, but also explain how and why it might be good. It's important that you start to see charts as a sort of language, like the universe has a message to convey, and that you have to open your eyes and ears to not only hear it, but to observe the nuances in expression and tone. For instance, I love my mom is a sentence that is a lot more concerning when said on Valentine's Day, or while both Venus and the moon are at the IC. So, one of the first forms of mitigation and defining the quality of the planets is sect. A planet can be of the day sect, of the night sect, or it can be Mercury, which, let's just say that Mercury's loyalty is much like its signs, mutable. It is somewhere in between black and white. But moving on. During the day, the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn perform better. They're stronger and more likely to lead to positive results. But during the night, the Moon, Venus, and Mars take the stage and are thus more productive, and their actions more pleasant. So for each sect, we can see that one luminary, one benefic, and one malefic planet are not only more relevant, but also providing more positive outcomes, even if the event itself is considered negative.
What is up, YouTube? And today I'm bringing you some 9/11 special Minecraft.
To use my Saturn as an example once again, it is the most powerful planet in my chart, being in sign and in sect, with a number of funny things that we'll eventually get to. Saturn has taught me a lot in life, not just because of how it impacts my relationship with religion, but also other people's values. And hey, you know, it also gets to control mine by proxy, ruling over my moon and all. So, I was born into a highly religious Christian family. There was a lot that I wasn't allowed to do. Pokemon? Satanic. Scooby-Doo? Evil, and also too scary. But my mom had this really chill friend who went to the same church as her, and whenever she went out to see her friend, I'd get to hang out with her kids. And you know, it's kind of funny. Her kids would be doing all the things that I wasn't allowed to do. So they went to the same church, they read the same Bible, but they still arrived at different outcomes.
You're gonna learn to do what I tell you to.
And this taught me very early on that beliefs and values are always translated through the people holding them.
Yes, make them all equal.
A person can believe that stealing, cheating, and lying are wrong, and still do them, thinking that they are exempt from the ideals that they espouse. In this way, you can see that the topics of religion and other people's values are restrictive, but they teach me a lesson that helps bring me towards universal truths about these two things, although I am simplifying things a bit. Back to sect, the sect of a chart is dependent on the time of day. But there will be times where you're handed a chart without any kind of identifying time on it. So the easiest way to tell if a chart is a day or night chart is that if the sun is on the top half of the chart, above the ascendant-descendant axis, then it's a day chart. However, if the sun is below this axis, then the sun is below the horizon, and thus it is a night chart. You're going to want to make sure that you get an accurate time, however, as astrologer Chris Brennan has noted that sometimes, even if the sun is just below this axis, it's still treated as a day chart. You want to make sure that your assessment of both the houses and sect is accurate, as the more comfortable a planet is, the more likely it is to yield something that can be considered positive or constructive. Things can quite quickly become a bit more complex, however. Libra Sun, for instance, is where the sun has its fall. Objectively, on its own, this is considered a bad placement. However, when it's nighttime, it becomes a little bit more questionable. Its ruler is now better situated because it's nighttime, and the sun is now less relevant. Although the sun is weaker, its ruler is now stronger. Interestingly, not every change may always be seen as positive from the outside looking in, as things are always going to be a little bit subjective. To paraphrase Valence, if Venus is in a cardinal or mutable sign, especially for night charts, it makes men off married and promiscuous. A bit of an exaggeration, especially if some of these topics are explicitly denied elsewhere in the chart, but there is some truth to be found here. Venus in cardinal signs has movement, making it leap from relationship to relationship. In mutable signs, Venus possesses flexibility, like seeing two people at the same time kind of flexibility, neither of which are considered good for the staying power of relationships. The power of Venus is amplified at night, allowing for success at these events, but the inherent nature and conditions are determined by the element, modality, and rulership, topics that we'll discuss in upcoming videos. So to wrap things up, Sect can be the difference between a walking disaster and salvageable. It's a very simple but powerful tool to throw in your arsenal, and you should be paying attention to it for interpretation. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.